A client gave me tickets to the Super Bowl, but a brazen partner took them for himself, and for that, he rightly got a public punishment from us. I'm a fan of the San Francisco 49ers American football team. A few years ago, we made it to the Super Bowl final again. At the time, I was working at a consulting company where I directly managed several clients. One of the clients knew how devoted I was to the Niners. In the company, I was his main contact, for all matters. We worked well together and even became friends. We would regularly have drinks or dinner after meetings. He had 2 extra corporate tickets to the game, and as a thank you for my work, he decided to give them to me. He gave the tickets to one partner, whom I'll call the thief, so that he could give them to me as a surprise. The game happened, we lost, and it was a bummer. The next time we met with this client, we went for drinks, and he suddenly asked, "Hey, by the way, why didn't you go to the game? I heard someone else was sitting in your seats." I was surprised. "What game?" "The Super Bowl." Confused, I replied, "I didn't have tickets to the Super Bowl." He said he had given the thief 2 corporate tickets so that he could pass them on to me as a gift. I had no idea what he was talking about. He looked shocked and told me to discreetly find out what happened and then report back to him. The next week, I found out from one of the secretaries that the thief had given my tickets as a gift to another one of his clients on behalf of our firm. Under other circumstances, maybe I would have let it slide for the sake of peace, but these were damn seats at the 30-yard line for my favorite team in the Super Bowl. I was torn. At first, I thought to confront the thief directly, but then I remembered that it was the client who had noticed my absence at the game, so I decided to let him handle it. I wrote to the client, "Just wanted to thank you for thinking of me and giving me the tickets. Looks like they were given to another client of our firm." He immediately replied in all caps, "Are you kidding me?" Then added, "I didn't tell you that. I'll take care of it." Later, he contacted me again, and we began discussing a plan. A couple of days later, we were invited to a meeting at the client's office. The client asked that the thief also be present, so the next week we got on a plane for a business trip. The thief had no idea the client had decided to stage an exquisitely awkward scene to catch him red-handed. When we entered the conference room, all the usual faces were there, plus a woman in her 30s whom we didn't recognize. My client immediately introduced, "Thief, this is Stephanie so-and-so, a vice president from another department. She wanted to attend the meeting. Hey, author, you must already know her from the Super Bowl." Stephanie reached out her hand and said, "Oh, I don't think we met there. Sorry if I forgot." The client reacted, "Oh my, Steph, how much did you drink that time? The author was sitting right next to you." At this point, the thief was clearly nervous, trying to come up with something, starting with, But Stephanie cut him off. "No, there were guys from another company sitting there. By the way, I'm curious. Why did we give corporate tickets to those guys? Do we have a joint project with them I don't know about?" Of course not. The companies were from completely different industries, like Coca-Cola working with John Deere, the agricultural machinery manufacturer. The thief mumbled again, and the client immediately cut him off. "Thief, I gave you those tickets to pass them on to the author, right?" Now the thief turned red and answered, Well, he kind of couldn't go, so I guess he gave them to someone else himself," and turned to me with a look like, "Cover for me." The client smirked. I said, What are you talking about? Client, you gave me Super Bowl tickets?" The client suddenly raised his voice. "Thief, those tickets were a personal gift, from me to the author. Did you give them to someone else?" Pause. "Gave them to another client." The thief jumped in. "Oh, maybe there was some mix-up in the office." The client went silent. For the thief, the pause probably felt like an eternity. Then, he lowered his eyes, took his briefcase and iPad, put everything in his bag, and said, "I think this meeting is over. Author, I guess I owe you compensation. Let's go have lunch. Stephanie, you're invited too. Thief, I need to reconsider our relationship. Please go home and expect to hear from us next week." The thief tried to say he'd like to join for lunch, probably to somehow save face, but Stephanie sharply cut him off. I don't think that's a good idea, and asked reception to escort him to the elevator. As soon as the doors closed, behind him we all burst into hysterical laughter. Stephanie wasn't actually a vice president, just an employee the client brought in to play a role in the pre-planned scene. In the end, she joined us for lunch, also a Niners fan and great company. On the way to the restaurant, I got a desperate message from the thief saying I needed to cover for the firm and we'd talk when I got back. I replied, "Yeah, we need to talk, but I'll see what I can do." The client told me to wait a couple of hours and then send him the following. First, the client billed the firm for the resale value of the Super Bowl tickets, which was far above face value. Over $10,000, as well as for our lunch. He had deliberately picked an expensive place and overpaid. These invoices were to be paid immediately. Second, he expected a personal apology to me. Third, a written apology to his company as he considered this theft. And fourth, from now on, he would communicate only with me or another partner of the firm, but never again with the thief. This whole story caused a stir among the other partners. In the end, I looked great, as if I had genuinely tried to save the client for the firm, despite being the victim of the whole situation. The client was reassigned to another partner, which meant the thief lost his share of the profits from that project. Oh, and the partners made the thief pay all the invoices out of his salary. Looking back, I have no idea what he was thinking. Did he seriously believe the client wouldn't notice I hadn't thanked him for the Super Bowl tickets? In any case, the atmosphere at the firm was poisoned for me after that, since the thief was still around. I left a few months later for a much cooler job. A year later, the client completely ended his relationship with our firm, and now he works with my good friend at a competing company. I'm still mad I missed the Super Bowl, even though we lost that time. Hopefully we'll make it to the final again, and then I'll finally go to the game myself. Well, that's all. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, like, and good luck!